Welcome everybody back to the House Senate Conference Committee on S.127, the Omnibus Housing Bill. It's still the 29th, Thursday, and we received the House conferees received from the Senate conferees a response to our response, and now the House is going to go over our response to your response.
Tennis.
So you want to bring it up?
Let's do it. John Gray, Office of Legislative Counsel, hopefully clear here. So again, like earlier today, the changes you're going to see highlighted are changes against the last draft. So these will be changes against the Senate proposal. So the first thing to note is in our affordability construct, the House is acceding to the Senate's durational requirement for the affordability piece. This will be picked up both here and in the moderate income housing development. That's that preserve affordability until all indebtedness has been retired for the project. So you're not going to see any highlighting because that's agreeing with that's agreement between the House and Senate conferees. Same piece on moderate income housing development, same durational requirement, and that's pages 3 and 4. The first change you're actually going to see is in the housing infrastructure agreement section, which is on page 7. And this is the much discussed subdivision 4 related to primary residency. What you'll recall from the Senate proposal earlier today was there's a two-pronged approach which distinguished between owner-occupied and rental housing, and said that for owner-occupied, you would need to ensure that it's initially offered exclusively as a primary residence, and that for rental rental housing, it would be for the duration of the until that indebtedness is retired. What you see the House proposing here is just applying the same durational requirement to both owner-occupied and rental housing. So that's what this subdivision 4 is. And it's saying provide terms to ensure that any housing unit is offered exclusively as a primary residence until all indebtedness for the housing infrastructure project of which that housing development is part has been retired. And really the way to think about it is earlier there was this distinguishing between owner-occupied and rental. And it's applying the same durational requirement that the Senate had proposed for rental housing also to owner-occupied. So it would apply across all categories, which is why you now just see one sentence rather than two prongs.
So we might not have addressed it in our proposal to you, but one of my concerns was always that we're asking the municipality to do this.
And it needs to be the housing partner.
I mean, the terms and sufficient remedies or the ordinance, I think we have the only way that anyone's going to be able to do this outlined in the next section. So I don't think we're in disagreement. I just think we not try to ask for other terms and remedies. I mean, who are you asking?
To clarify, okay, let's clarify something.
Yeah.
Okay, what we're talking about here is we're not talking about the low, moderate, mid income.
I know.
Okay, we're talking about,
Yeah.
nobody's there.
We're clarifying.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is the primary residence, okay?
Mm-hmm.
We, in our committee, added if the municipality so elects an ordinance, actually in response to our sense that towns, while they didn't like this, they wanted flexibility as to how to do it. One way they can do it is they could put in their contract that all housing has to have a covenant that runs with the land, and then it's just they're not doing it. It's just happening because it's in the contract. If I'm a developer, that I'm the one they have a contract with, and I'm the developer, then I put when I sell houses or rent houses, the covenant. But we wanted to allow the municipality, if this was a municipality that wanted to adopt ordinance to do it and enforce it itself, it could, but it doesn't have to. So that's why the phrase, if the municipality so elects, was put in, just to give them an option.
So
otherwise,
if you
it just runs with the land. And the question of who enforces it down the road, if some neighbor wants to complain about it, then the town could enforce the covenant. I think there'd probably be a private right of enforcement.
Um, you don't need language that says provide terms, remedies, or a municipal ordinance for it to be flexible. What we have done at the end is, and that you seem to have accepted, is
Sorry, the sub B is actually an error on my part. I meant to delete that. This was trying to consolidate into one section. You're talking about subdivision B on line 19.
Right, or. I
That
think you were
should be gone.
referring to be on the
That should be
page.
gone. I just texted Cameron
the
to.
rental housing.
Yeah, because it's now being brought together in the house's proposal. It's that either owner occupied
Let's
or
look at the
rental.
language.
Yep,
in B,
sure, you
even
can.
though it's gone for a minute, just a minute.
Yep.
In
Sold
big
is-
B or little?
Big B. It's sold and then offered. I know we're saying it's gone, but I still want to look at your language.
If I get this up.
It's offered exclusively. Has been retired,
It's the proviso.
provided that this condition is satisfied.
The
One thing we could do here. Could you go back up?
Yes.
I don't have any objection. I don't know about anybody else. I hate to do this on the fly, but we're trying to reach conclusions here. I have no objection just to say, provide that.
second part are,
Just,
Yeah.
no, the second, B is gone. See, what we've done is we've combined A and B. You had an A and B, we combined them into one. And if you're worried about the words, provide terms and sufficient remedies, or if the municipality so elects, et cetera, we can strike all of
oh
them.
yeah,
And
okay.
just put, provide that. Any housing unit with it, et cetera.
Oh, okay.
But within the structure, it's a housing infrastructure agreement,
Yeah,
right? The clearly identifies who is the developer. And that within that agreement is
right.
providing
It's within
terms.
the agreements, provide that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you, I mean, I suggest, but it's not critical to me, that you keep the condition is satisfied by a landlord certificate or homestead declaration, because that's currently the only way we know. I don't think it's a good idea to let a neighbor
As a primary residence, all.
the town.
But that's
It's on the next page.
the next.
If B is,
What
leads over to the next page,
That,
top of the page.
this is what we do right now in the property transfer tax to ensure something is not being used exclusively as a second home. This is the only way we have to know that something's not a second home.
So you would add to the paragraph above, let's go back again.
So are you,
We would add, I'm sorry. go
no, I
ahead.
was just gonna say, I think you're trying to say the sufficient remedy is the end of B.
Yes.
So we could, I'm just trying to language
Because we
this.
could
We
combine.
could just combine them and
Yeah.
say, after the semicolon, then go back, we could put.
Provided that this condition
They
should be
provided this
satisfied.
condition may be
Right.
satisfied. Are
Yeah.
you with me, John?
Oh, yeah.
He's way ahead.
So take just the highlighted language, the bulk of the highlighted language and add the.
Did you want to make the change to the first clause there? So it would just be provide that any housing unit within the housing development be offered exclusively as a primary residence, et cetera, provided that this condition shall be satisfied by.
Maybe set, I would say may.
Right.
Works either way. Works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like Maze.
I'm happy with may.
Right.
I think that would be, that answers our needs.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, just writing it down.
Our first.
Let somebody who's my official memory remember this.
Spoken.
Next piece we come to is the but-for test. This is on page 8. The earlier Senate proposal was to have exempted from the but-for test projects that satisfy the affordability criterion. What the House is proposing is something slightly narrower. You'll note that the affordability criterion includes both affordable housing developments and moderate income housing developments. This is saying we could exempt those that are affordable housing developments, so not the moderate, but it would exempt from the but-for test those that are affordable housing developments. The next thing is the project criteria. We have this dual-pronged structure for a floor area threshold, and then this alternative for determination meaningfully addresses the purpose of
It's
this.
on page 11.
Page 9.
Sorry.
9. And the threshold, the Senate proposal had been 51%, down from the 65% that the House had before, and then the Senate is, sorry, the House is now proposing 60%.
And I'll just add that we really, I mean, our intent here, I guess, I'm probably even wasting my vote since it's obvious. Our intent is really to make sure that it's mostly housing. But the two, paragraph, subparagraph two, we felt really gives enormous flexibility. And so that's our, we're afraid that 51, it's, like, it sounds like it's commercial. It could be used just as easily commercial as housing, and we didn't want to say that. So 60 plus the flexibility, that's what's behind our proposal.
Plus the flexibility too.
I just point out, you can have a commercial downstairs and a residential upstairs, and that's probably gonna be common in rural areas.
In fact,
With the second provision, not a hill that I.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right
All right.
now.
I'm going to jump down to page
11.
10 and 11. Yep. And the first thing to note is something you don't see highlighted. House is agreeing to the flat 90-day from site visit.
Okay.
On page 11, some conforming changes on lines 4 through 6. That's that carve out from the but-for test, just the affordable housing development. So you need to pick up that language here. Something you aren't seeing highlighted is on line 9.
I'm seeing it.
The CHIP final application deadline is 2035. So I agree to that. And then what you do see here is reinserting the house, or the house is proposing to keep its proposed limit.
Well, at first I saw 2030.
Leave you guys alone, and goddamn. Okay.
This limit that you see here is structured differently, just for readability purposes. The same limit that has been in the House proposal all along. What is new is on page 12, subdivision 3, which is just asking FEPC in 2030, so after your first years of implementing, to come back to the committees of jurisdiction with a recommendation on an appropriate limit based on what the annual approvals have been for the program in the first years of the program.
Just want to put a little more color on that. We were trying to make it relatable for some of the House members. If there was a housing project that been discussed of about $60 to $80 million that I think we all know about, anywhere from 1,000 to 1,500 units, depending on which configuration to look at. Over the lifetime, that increment, that increased value, would have an increment retention of about $17 million. Just to put it in perspective. So it carried to 40. That was at a 60% originally when we looked at it. So it could have a higher increment retention. But just to look at the large investment that project represents and what the increment is over. So if you say even say it's 20 million over a 40 or 20-year period, then that's still 20 million left in the approval of the cap.
Yeah.
So, yeah. No, I've been racking my brain around the cap. I get a nice hour ride home each night, so I get to think about a lot of things. And previously, before I was in finance committee, I was on education when I first got here, and then ways and means. So education fund, near and dear to my heart. And all the mechanics of the education fund, I was just thinking about, how does this cap work? And we're talking about retention in these TIF areas. And I kept coming back to 20-30% of something is better than 100% of nothing. So I always kept coming back to that. And I'm thinking about, if you get past the but for that, these developments wouldn't come to fruition without this financing, that we wouldn't have the housing where people could move to Vermont, work in our jobs that are open, and, spend money on our stores, spend money on our restaurants, buy cars and trucks. All those are consumption taxes, and those all go to the ed fund. So those are all monies that would kind of backfill that TIF retention. And I just feel like we shouldn't limit the growth of housing based on the cap. So that's kind of where I am when I was trying to figure out 40, 50, 60, no cap, is that there's other parts that are in play with the consumption taxes in the ed fund. And like we saw in the chart yesterday, is that the ed fund actually got $160 million that wouldn't have been there if it wasn't for CHIP.
Yeah.
So I just keep coming back to the cap
Yeah, or
Yeah.
The chart.
I think
Yeah,
yes,
no, I was thinking
Yeah.
about Jessica.
So I just keep
Jessica's
coming back
numbers.
to these housing projects wouldn't happen without the infrastructure. So we wouldn't have that money anyway.
Yes, and there is always the philosophy that those developments might happen somewhere else. So it comes down to that, don't shake your head.
In another
It already
state.
comes down to that philosophical difference. And if you ask Tom Cavett, you'll get a much different answer in terms of the state or legislative economists. So I understand your perspective. And what we're saying, all right, we even put in here in the next section, let's revisit the cap in 5 years and say, do we need to increase it? And so we've already got a $5 million booster. If Bepsi finds that 17 or 40 million isn't enough to come back and say we need $5 million extra.
Yeah.
But so, I mean, we hear you that it may not be enough. So let's try to do that.
So we figured Ways and Means wouldn't be sympathetic to brandless growth. So we have an alternative proposal, which is that we exempt affordable and moderate housing projects from the cap.
Right, and we went halfway there.
You didn't go there. That was the but-for test. This is the cap.
This is the cap.
Oh.
We're proposing that the cap exclude.
Affordable and moderate.
Oh, okay, right, yeah.
It's not been in any of our proposals.
What does that
any of
mean?
discussions. That it's not something that we.
This
have brought
study
forward.
hasn't been in any of the proposals.
We haven't brought that forward as a proposal to you. It's not something I think that would be willing to agree on.
Did you ask your conferees that?
We have discussed it, and this offer doesn't have it in. We're really at the point now where we all know what everybody's thinking, and we thought about this and talked about it, and in this offer, it's not here.
So in this offer, you're offering a revisit
I
in
know.
5 years.
I know, and we had taken out the cap every time. So we're
Yeah.
trying to offer a
You're saying-
very halfway
You're
position.
saying you could live with a cap
If
with
you
these
exclude
kinds of
it.
things if we exclude.
Right,
Okay,
exactly.
all right, that's really valuable to know.
Thank you.
Right, that's, I thought, well, actually, we haven't shared that
Okay,
yet.
but well,
We hadn't shared that. No.
apparently we're all sharing things that we hadn't quite
This is why
decided to
we have a
share.
3 o'clock.
That's okay, you're asking more by hand.
Right.
But it's obviously come up throughout the process, and I think you have a lot of sympathy for that from your own
There were discussions,
chamber, not Ways and Means, perhaps.
there were discussions really early on. We talked to some affordable housing advocates, and the concern was that the cap wasn't high enough. But then when we actually crunched the numbers and showed what the retention was involved in the cap, that alleviated some concerns.
In some of those things.
No,
So you know
We're
our,
just giving you history.
right, but we appreciate the 5-year review.
and we know you're going to consider this
Yes,
proposal.
and also, yeah, I mean, it wasn't on the table, now it's on the table.
on the table.
Okay,
And there's scones on the table if
I
anybody
know,
wants.
I've already had mine, thank you very much. Okay. We're with you, okay.
Facilities Council.
Is there more?
There is
Yes,
more. Yep. Okay. Next piece to jump to is the increment retention percentages. This will be on page 16.
That's better, that's getting better.
So the latest we've seen in the Senate proposal for the various retention percentages have been 75 and 90%. And what you see here is 70 and 80%, which is a change from the House's earlier position of 65 and 80. So bringing up standard projects to the 70% where the figures currently are, with affordable projects eligible for this 80%.
At 10 points.
You didn't want to lift the cap. We don't want to go below 75. Here we are. Taking it all into consideration.
Info reporting. I'm going to page 19. I think the sole update to the annual report is what you see highlighted at the bottom of that page on line 19, adding that report should include the aggregate lifetime educating property tax increment retention that is approved that year. That's a figure that would be available under this construct if you have the cap in place. And so it would just let you know what are you actually approving in a year in total lifetime increment retention.
Do we have to come back and approve this every year?
This isn't something you approve, this is
No.
just,
Wouldn't this
The report.
couldn't this be incorporated into your annual report?
Oh,
This is-
approved by Repsi.
By
Okay.
Repsi.
That is what
I
this
know
is.
Another yearly
That's what this
thing
is.
we have to do.
Put it in their annual report.
that's what this is.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's part of what, it's addressing in part the concern that seems to be on both sides of the table of, well, like, where are we with this cap?
If we have,
And where are we with these projects? I think it
Yeah,
answers all.
Yeah, also.
Right.
A change you're not gonna see highlighted. Oh, I should talk about what's highlighted first. You see some strangely colored highlighting. I'll let you guys speak to
It's
this.
strange. It's just dark and hard to read.
I'm ready to let this one go. People may have
Because of
seen
the
that email.
emails that you
Yeah,
sent.
yeah.
So leave as is,
No, take it out.
pick it up.
Are we okay taking it out? Guys?
Yeah, it's interesting looking at the TIF report, it does this almost already. But not specifically to housing within that project. So you're right about
Right,
that.
yeah, that's,
Yeah.
Just, but
but they can do that in a couple of years, so we'll keep in touch with
yeah,
towns.
it's helpful to know even within that project by the parcel number.
Yeah.
What the valuation is in that, and that's possible. We're already doing it with TIF.
Right, I was trying to get more specific,
Yeah.
but we can do
Yeah,
that
yeah,
in a couple of years, yeah.
Which is why Jessica's able to tell us that South Burlington development in the TIF district is values from 52%.
Yeah, right.
Gobsmacking.
Okay, so we're taking that out.
Okay, yeah, just told Cameron.
Yeah, taking 11 out, that's okay.
Uh,
can't read it.
rulemaking, page 22.
Yeah.
Probably looks larger than it is. This accedes to the Senate request for a November 15th deadline for that guidance, but asks that it be, published at that time and provided to the committees of jurisdiction. The last change is the TIF sunset section. Obviously, only the House proposals have contained this section. This is section 27. Which starts on page 27, but the actual highlighting is on 28. The previous House proposal had been for this TIF district sunset to be 2031, aligned with the earlier House request for the CHIP final application deadline at the end of 2031. Now you're seeing that aligned with the CHIP final application deadline of 2035. And that is it. And being real, I need to leave and I'm going to let Cameron do whatever's.
Yeah, we actually have a few pieces
Mhm.
that we haven't discussed
Okay.
yet.
And I just sent him the things that we talked about. He's already made the changes.
Thank you,
Great.
John.
Thank you so much, Joan.
Good luck.
Good luck to you.
What are you, without going into them yet, because I'm gonna manage our time. What do you guys want to talk about?
On this or everything else?
I think we just want to make sure we go through the new language that Cam is going to present, which we didn't actually have time to do before. And, right, and then I think we probably need to talk.
Well, do you want us to list out the studies, the
Okay.
Right.
the
I just
municipal
want to say,
appeals?
number one,
Yeah, we do.
we'll go along with you on just postponing the whole appeals, okay?
Thank you.
Two, I regret, it's with real regret, I have to say, at the moment, enough complexities have emerged with the universal design study that I don't see resolving the timeframe we're talking about, which is immediately. It's really regretful since it was in all our bills in the budget everywhere, but there have emerged problems which I do not see resolving today, and I think we are at the end. I want to resolve things today, so I think we're gonna have to let that go.
I would just say if Elizabeth is watching, there's an open seat on the access board for Division of Fire Safety. It really does look like the constitution that she wants, and I would hate something else to be happening. So
There are other things happening too, which
Mhm.
is what is influencing me,
Right.
so
yeah,
let's just say
There's a
for
lot of
now,
cool stuff
don't.
happening.
Okay,
Yeah.
with
Okay.
great regret. Part of the sausage, okay.
Right.
Uh,
And
so that's,
Elizabeth and Mike are in touch, which is good because there is an opening on that.
okay, so I don't know how, maybe the BAA, I'm not sure what we're going. Okay,
Will be $15,000 extra dollars.
yeah, right, yeah. So.
The TIF sunset is out, sorry, can we?
Tip
Sunset is 2035.
They
Oh.
moved the TIF sunset to 2035.
We made it, kept it coterminous. We moved all the sunsets to 20 from.
Oh, sorry, I missed that part.
2035.
I thought that was good.
Okay. We thought, okay,
Okay.
well, we'll have a
Okay.
conversation.
So now, do you want, is there language, given what I just said?
There's
Tamara?
housing language that we just need to
Oh,
confirm.
right,
That you have.
the number 2,
Yes.
fine.
Pam has new language. You've seen it because we gave it to you this morning.
Yes, it's fine.
And I think there was one other piece that you had in the infrastructure.
That's
Oh,
fine
right,
too.
yeah, housing targets.
That's fine too. Okay?
We like to use what we've asked for.
Oh, never mind. There's-
We don't want
But
to
she's
have a
sitting there now.
fallout.
Unless you have your parachute with you.
Oh my God.
I thought we would want to open the window, but someone's sitting on the windowsill.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Oh, I thought there was some kind of like,
Decided Not to
concern.
worry.
Yeah, with both those.
Okay. I won't.
Okay, I want to just bring up one other thing. While everybody's here, it does not relate directly to the subject of this S.127. But in 479, you had the whole section on,
Credit scores.
okay, it is my intention with the permission of my fellows here to strip everything out of 479 except that, including the stuff on,
Stormwater. It's the
It all
AMR.
goes out, and all that's left is just that one provision. Introduce it tonight as an amendment to 495, get it out of the House. Tomorrow, over to you tomorrow. Is that okay?
Yeah, what's 495?
I mean, 479. It's
Oh, right.
the housing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great.
Okay?
Tomorrow.
495. Right.
evening.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, tomorrow, we're gonna do it, yeah,
Oh, at 10 a.m.
tomorrow morning with.
Great.
with-
All stages of passage.
All stages of passage, over to you, okay?
Thank you.
And actually, we only have to vote on it once. Yeah, because it's your counter.
Yeah.
Right.
Right,
Yeah.
it's your
But
further
we're
proposal.
gonna
of
need,
amendment.
we're gonna need co-chair, we're gonna need somehow get together for a straw poll. Okay, I don't know if you need.
On 479.
Yeah, you should.
You got things too. You got a whole thing from the developmental.
That's what we're saying.
Yes, but our committee got kicked out, so
All
we're
right.
trying to make sure they still get some.
Okay. Should we, is it worth it for us mutually to take a break
Yeah.
right now and come back in what? 20 minutes?
350.
Did you hear from
Are you doing
Ashley?
126?
Oh, let me see. I have
She
not
probably-
silenced. I'm being good, trying to be good.
Okay, on the method.
108, yeah.
108,
Republican
okay.
Ashley, sure thing. Yes, so our
Or
bill's gonna
first.
be up, 122 is gonna be up
Okay.
first. There may be some debate, but we could be back here probably by 3:15.
Okay, 3:15 it is.
Cool.
We,
May I send this conference report to our editing team to have it edited,
Did
or
we
you?
miss anything? The VHFA thing, is that gone?
the VHFA thing is out.
Okay, so
Okay.
we've taken care of everything
I
that
think
was.
all the,
Okay.
the non-chip things we've
Mhm.
taken care
Yeah, the
of.
VHFA is out.
Let me just look
So I
at
think we
my,
have
Just around
three
it
things
is.
left on chip.
let me just look at my non-chip list to make sure that I think we're.
Keep losing pens. Come on. Give it back to.
And the housing, yep, I think we're in. And the date, yep, I think we're all set.
Okay, so you guys, 3:15, right?
Yeah.
Okay, we are in recess.